Let me introduce you to BEHCO. With over 50 years of industry and application experience, we deliver automation solutions with an entrepreneurial mindset. Our engineered solutions solve problems, save money, and improve system functionality, no matter the application. We're a distributor of Industry 4.0 leading component manufacturers with full-service engineering and manufacturing capabilities. We are the ideal partner for your motion control, fluid control, and automation requirements. BEHCO, dynamic automation experience.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Automation Alley's Virtual Tech Takeover. I am Cynthia Hutchison. I'm the VP here at Automation Alley. Each Wednesday, we host these member-led Industry 4.0 focus sessions on the live stream. This week's topic, robots and demos with BEHCO's partners, hosted by BEHCO, is one of my favorite. I'm not supposed to go off script here, but I always have to because working with BEHCO has been one of my favorite customers. You know, it's like favorite children. You're not supposed to have favorites when you're a membership group, but I've enjoyed working with Mike Folster and BEHCO probably since about the time I joined the organization. But what I like most is that the ability BEHCO has to bring their partners in a professional and highly educational way to help people really understand the power of robots and cobots, and the demos are always fascinating. So when we get back to real life, make sure you don't miss a real life event by them as well. So this morning, I'm going to tell you a little bit about our speakers. I'll be pleased to be joined by Mike Folster. He's the GM of Robotics and Vision Product Manager for BEHCO. Eric Anderson is a project manager for Universal Robots. Steve Curtis is the Eastern Regional Manager for SMAC. Sven Dittus, Advanced Robotics Expert from Artiminds. And Sven is in Germany. I'll give you a little bit of the perspective of where everybody is. Brett Lindell, Area Sales Manager on Robot from Dallas. Ernst Neumeyer, Channel Sales Manager, Universal Robots. I don't think I know where he's from, but I know that Eric Anderson is Boston. So we've got a nice collection of people from around the country and around the globe who can offer insights in different ways. We will be doing a Q&A during today's presentation, so please use the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen at any time if you have questions. Mike will aggregate them, he'll collect and make sure they get answered at the end of the presentation, or somebody from the team may even reach out to you afterwards. So right now, I'd like to welcome our current panelist, Mike Folster from BEHCO. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning, Cynthia. Great to be with you again. Always a pleasure to join you, whether it's live or virtual, as we are again this time around.
Yeah, Mike and I were just commenting on how much more fun it was to nag people at the back of the room to move their coffee forward and go get ready to sit down. So we hope you're around for those as well. That's going to be coming soon, I hope.
That's correct.
Tell us a little bit about BEHCO. Can you tell me just a little bit for those who don't know everything about you?
Well, sure will. I think it's important to know that BEHCO is a company rooted in Michigan. We're specifically here to serve our Michigan manufacturing and machine building customers with automation solutions. We've been around since the 50s, so our technology portfolio starts with the hydraulics and lubrication. We have fluid power and pneumatics. We also have motion control and automation. And as you mentioned, I head up the collaborative robot and vision group within our business. All of those pillars of our technology offerings are supported by our engineering services group. We can do everything from coaching and consulting to get customers comfortable taking ownership in a do-it-yourself format with these technologies, as well as take on more responsibilities as you might need based on time or specific support for the business at hand. So I think we would say that we have a complete toolkit. We're also covering the state of Michigan from 2 locations. Our headquarters is in Warren, Michigan. We got a fantastic facility, brand new. Within the last couple of years, we opened up a big expansion on the back end of a really nice offering there, so we could take on large projects as appropriate. And then over here in Hudsonville, where I'm based, we've got a little power pack of a sales and engineering office. A lot of our R&D and robot technologies are brought over here. Just by the way of the world, it's a little bit more accessible. So we've been able to get customers engaged with us through the pandemic by having something close for them to take a look at. So that's how we go to market is basically a consultative partnership. And and when I look at the Michigan manufacturing space, I think we would all agree that the labor shortage has gone from what once was annoying to then now problematic to almost at the point where it's a complete crisis. And I think if we summarize our approach to the business, we're here to make work more human, automate the dirty, dull, and dangerous aspects of human labor, so that your people can focus on machine uptime and making more money to the bottom line. That's just that simple.
It really is a unique time, the convergence of the true labor crisis, which is where we are now, and the opportunity for robotic and automation to come in and solve some of the problems to facilitate management being able to work around those crises, isn't it? The shortages.
Yeah, and I think it takes a complete approach. Not just one channel is going to solve this. And I think that's really, highlights the Automation Alley partnership that we're so glad to be part of. I mean, to your point earlier, we go back a number of years. We are thrilled to see how your organization has become the benchmark for Industry 4.0 adoption challenges, being really honest about how difficult it is for companies to take that step, and bridging those companies like ourselves, probably your smallest platinum member, to the network of support, whether it's going to be MEDC or the Right Place or the Detroit Chamber. All these partnerships together are enabling small companies to find ways to get to the right decision makers to be able to bring these solutions to market. And for that, we're just super thankful for the Alley's support.
Thank you. And we're glad to have, it's kind of interesting. I tell people a lot. BEHCO uses, you are the smallest company that sits on our foundation wall as a foundation of primary high-level engagement and commitment to the organization. And I often tell people that a membership organization, no matter what it is, it all looks a lot like the gym membership. I used to have a drive-by membership. I paid $25 a month. I drove by on my way to dinner and said, that's my gym. And then I started paying for a personal trainer. I made an actual investment in my gym and in myself, more importantly. And then I kind of own it. Like, I can't drive by too many days in between that one training session, or I feel like I'm really wasting my money. I think that BEHCO has done that with Automation Alley, but coming in and saying, we're not going to just be members, we're going to be hands-on, share our knowledge, work with people, get to know people, learn from others, teach others. That level of engagement is what it is. I wish we could, bottle it, because that's what we need, particularly from the SME. The small business community needs, the small and mid-sized really need to step into that place and learn from one another. And that's what it's exciting about what you learn and what you teach. So I always thank you for being part of this.
Well, it works for both of us. I mean, ultimately, trust is what drives people's decisions in a big business environment, and our relationship with you, I think, is paramount to showcasing how a trusted relationship is developed. So I think from that standpoint, the other thing that you mentioned was this global team of partners that we work with, and BEHCO is certainly proud of our position in the market, our customer relationships, our internal know-how, but we would be nothing, frankly, if we didn't have the excellence of our vendor partners and the technologies that they offer. So today, it's going to be great to have Ernie Newmeyer. He's our channel sales manager. He's based in Ann Arbor, so he's another Michigander, and he's going to give us an update on how the world leader in cobots is continuing to take it to another level. And he's backed up then by Eric Anderson in Boston, as you mentioned. Eric he's a product manager for their machine loading system called ActiNav, and that's going to be fantastic to see how that plug and play technology now is approachable for an end user to put on their floor. Brent Lindell out of Dallas he's with OnRobot. I don't know of any company that's more innovative in the end-of-arm tooling space than OnRobot. They've got so many different technology options that are making it plug and play for our Universal Robot to do some fantastic activity in the field. So he's going to walk through what they offer. And then we're going to shift gears a little bit over to Steve Curtis from SMAC, Voice Coil Actuation. They have a better mousetrap, just a better mousetrap for a problem in the field for a lot of companies is LVDTs. They do a great job for measurement, but they're difficult to maintain. And we're just going to be very specific on a solution that our team in motion control brings to market for people just be aware of that this is available. It's affordable and it solves a big headache. And then last, out of Germany, we're saving Sven Dittis for last because he's got probably the most fascinating demo available for us today in terms of how they're using their programming suite to do some really fantastic programming for robots. And he's going to give us an overview of how that can work for you. And then hopefully the questions at the end here will spur some more interest, and we'll get those in front of you as soon as possible.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Ernie Newmeyer, Channel Development Manager for Universal Robots. Today, I'm going to start things off by giving you a brief introduction to Universal Robots and talk a little bit about some of the resources UR has to empower you as a user. This really sums up what UR is all about, making automation easy and accessible to all by breaking down some of the barriers in place with traditional automation and making a user-friendly, intuitive product that is simple to learn, easy to use, and maintain. For those of you not familiar with Universal Robots, we are the market leader for collaborative robots with over 50,000 cobots deployed around the world. UR is headquartered out of Denmark with its North American headquarters in Ann Arbor, Michigan, that serves as our training center, service, and parts hub. Most of you are probably familiar with traditional industrial robots like the ones you see on the left side of the screen, but some of you may be slightly less familiar with collaborative robots or cobots. You can obviously see the difference in size and the amount of safety equipment needed with the traditional industrial robot. Collaborative robot automation really is the way that the market is moving forward. So what is a cobot? A cobot is simply a robot that is designed to work safely with or near human coworkers. While safety is obviously a key aspect of a cobot, UR takes the term collaborative a step further and also includes ease of deployment, ease of use, and maintenance. So while safety is in fact a key aspect of our cobots, what really sets us apart is that we are fast to set up, easy to program, and flexible to deploy and redeploy. So all of those benefits combine to give Universal Robots an industry-leading fast return on investment. So what are some ways that cobots can help your company? Cobots are excellent for automating current manual tasks and can greatly increase efficiency, quality, and throughput in many manufacturing processes. At the end of the day, this can help to shift workers from those dull, dangerous, and dirty jobs to higher value-add tasks that workers really prefer to do. Collaborative automation is really a new way of thinking compared to traditional robot automation. So what I mean by that is humans and robots should be collaborating because both are uniquely good at doing their own set of distinct tasks. Humans, for instance, are really good at new, unique tasks and problem solving, where robots are really good at the more repetitive tasks. So combining those really creates a lot of value and productivity. UR's average payback time is typically less than 1 year. The payback time you get from your cobot can obviously vary, and we've seen ROIs as short as 34 days. In the case of Task Force Tips, a manufacturer that uses our cobots for machine tending. So I encourage you to check out this case study on our website and many others like this. I want to introduce you to the UR family. Universal Robots has 4 models, the UR3E, 5E, 16E, and 10E. The model number indicates the payload capacity in kilograms. So based on the model, our payloads range from 6.6 pounds up to 35.3 pounds, and our reach ranges from 19.7 inches all the way up to 51.2 inches. The UR controller is available in 2 different variants, the standard E series that you see on the left-hand side and an IP44 control box, and the OEM version that is basically the guts of our standard controller and can be built into a custom panel. The controller comes standard with 16 in, 16 out digital I/O, 2 in, 2 out analog I/O, Ethernet interface used for Modbus, Ethernet IP, and Profinet. And as far as power requirements, our controllers run on 120 volt standard outlet. Our controller is fairly compact. It's roughly 19 by 16 by 10 inches and weighs right around 27 pounds. I want to talk a little bit about UR+. So UR+ is another way to speed up your deployment. The UR+ ecosystem is a big differentiator for Universal Robots. It's made up of hundreds of tested and certified products that are ready to plug and produce with your cobot. The goal of the UR+ ecosystem is really to shorten the time it takes for you to implement your automation project. To get you there faster, we have a selection of hundreds of products across dozens of different applications that have been certified by our team to be easy to use, compatible with your cobot, and ready to go with all the software, hardware, and everything you need to get started. On the UR website, you can explore all the different UR+ plug and produce tools for your cobot applications. This is a small sample of some of the partners on UR+. We have over 300 partners, and this is really growing at a fast pace. I want to shift over to training quickly. The UR Academy is an industry-leading training academy offered by UR, both in-person instruction and also complimentary e-learning online. UR is the only robot manufacturer that offers training of this caliber free of charge. You know, we think it's vital to narrow the skills gap and get more people up to speed with robotics faster. So for small and mid-sized manufacturers, this can also be critical to how you address some of your labor challenges. Instead of trying to hire and retain operators for repetitive tasks at rates that impact your competitiveness, you can automate those tasks and pay for high-quality workers who have interesting career paths and who can continue to add value to your operation by knowing how to reprogram and redeploy cobots as your business changes and grows. As mentioned, UR offers high-quality free e-learning modules to get you up and going quickly with programming your cobot. And with that, I would like to turn it over to Eric Anderson, UR Product Manager, to talk about ActiNav and to demonstrate our autonomous bin picking solution.
Thanks for that great introduction, Ernie. Again, my name is Eric Anderson. I'm the Product Manager for ActiNav, and it's a real pleasure to be with you here today. So where shall we begin our demo? Well, what is ActiNav? Well,
ActiNav is the platform. ActiNav, of course, needs 3D scanning, of course, needs matching algorithms, but it ties all of this together in a product which is designed exclusively by and for Universal Robots into an ultra reliable and ultra easy to use system. And we're going to talk about today what technologies, what's built into the product that makes it so unique and makes it this reliable and easy to use program that utilizes different technologies. So let's get through the demo. We'll start to use the system, and then as we go, we'll answer some questions along the way. Okay, so the setup we have behind me here is we're running at just half speed, so nice and safe. Let me get that out of the way there. And so it's a UR5E. ActiNav works with UR5E and 10E, and ActiNav kit consists of three main pieces. It's the user interface, which is installed on the teach pendant. So all programming is on the teach pendant. It's a 3D sensor. So you see there's a 3D sensor mounted right here. I'll explain what I mean by a 3D sensor. And then the third component is the autonomous motion module. There's a black motion and vision processing unit that's connected to the robot controller via Ethernet. So those are the three pieces. And then on top of that, the installation, or what you need to add to that, the robot plus the three pieces of ActiNav, is an end effector that's suitable for the part or the application that you're doing. Of course, some custom framing. This is actually a standard frame designed by Vention for the UR5 for ActiNav with the UR5 and a medium sensor, as well as whatever placement target or regrip fixture or inspection cameras or sensors and switches and other things that you might need. So those are the major pieces. The part we're going to be picking today is this demo conduit part. It's a somewhat shiny metal part. We're going to be picking from the top. This side we call the barcode side because it has a barcode, and this side the clear side. You can see it's a completely unique 3D part, unique geometry. It's planar symmetrical in this way. But we're going to pick it from three different ways. We're going to place it in a fixed location. ActiNav works with any end effector. So it works with a whole variety of UR Plus pre-certified end effectors, or you can design completely your own custom end effector. But regardless, ActiNav, when it operates, is going to be completely collision-free and singularity-free, not just of the robot from hitting things, but the robot, the end effector, including custom end effectors, and the part while holding the part. So also the part will not hit anything in the environment. So the question is, how is this possible, and how does this thing work? So let me go ahead and stop it, and we'll walk through the setup. Now, the setup is a 6-step setup to configure the system, and we'll just walk through the major pieces there. Okay. So here's the 6 steps. So step 1, you get a robot, you get an ActiNav, you get a frame, you get an end effector. You know, you bolt it all together. What happens? You take the AMM, the autonomous motion module, and an Ethernet cable that comes in the kit, and you plug in that computer, that processing unit, into the UR controller. And that basically now augments the capabilities of the UR cobot with autonomous motion or self-deterministic motion. It's very simple to do that. You hit this pair AMM button. And what happens when you pair the AMM with the robot is it identifies the model of the robot. It pulls in the calibration files that get set at the factory. So we have an exact model of what that exact robot that AMM is connected to. Okay, so now we know what robot we're connected to, and we have a 3D model of it. The second thing we're going to do is mount the 3D sensor. So we take the 3D sensor out of the box, mount it at the appropriate distance above the bin, and we need to perform alignment. It's the same with all bin picking or even other systems where you can use a QR code. We use a dome. There's no advantages or disadvantages. You just need to align the camera space to the robot space. So what you do is this dome comes in the kit, this half dome. You attach it to the end of the robot, and you take the robot in free drive mode. So it's got this great free drive functionality on the bottom, and just position this dome at 8 different positions underneath the 3D sensor, and then it aligns the sensor space to the robot space. So that's pretty easy. So we hit a button, We did alignment. That's probably 15 minutes. The next thing is the tool. So I mentioned earlier that when ActiNav is running, that both the robot, the end effector, and the part will never collide with anything in the environment. So the way we do that with the tool is you can load, you need a CAD model of the end effector, and you can load up to 100 different end effectors into the system. And we create clearance shapes. So here's the first introduction to the concept of an environment and clearance shapes. So when we hit that pair button, I'm going to turn the world off. When we hit that pair button and we pulled in a model of the robot and its exact calibration files, we automatically generate these green shapes, these green bubbles around the robot. And so we know the kinematics of the robot, and we've put shapes around all of the moving features. But the end effector, because we can put any end effector on ActiNav, we don't know about its geometry. So we simply create these clearance shapes. In this case, we've used these lozenges, these little bricks, to sort of approximate and cover the end effector. So now, when the system moves through the space, those green bubbles around the robot and the end effector will never touch anything in the environment. Okay, so the next question is, well, what's the environment? So let's look at that together. So you probably saw this on the screen before. So the environment is a simplified representation of anything the robot can touch or anywhere you don't want the robot to go. So they can be real things in the environment or virtual things. So you see the object I have highlighted here is a ceiling. So I've placed a ceiling about here. Looks like it's right around the middle of the 3D scanner there. And the robot will never go through that ceiling. Wherever there are clearance shapes in ActiNav, the robot, the end effector, and the part will never enter any of those shapes. So that's how it works. You basically define what this space, what its operating space is. Real objects, of course, you don't want it to collide with, but also you define where you're going to allow it to operate within. Okay, the last piece of the setup is the part. So you can load up to 100 different parts into ActiNav. You're of course going to set up your properties. Here's the 3D CAD model. We are utilizing CAD-based matching algorithms. What we found is they're the easiest, they're the most accurate, and also the easiest to set up from number of knobs and buttons that we need to expose for users. They're also very precise and especially useful for the application that we're targeting, which is machine loading, where we expect one type of part to be in the bin. So we don't do any sortation or any 50 different parts inside the bin and figure out what's what. We expect everything in the bin. You do a run, you pick everything, and you place that into the machine. You can see we've added a clearance shape around the part. So if we pick it this way, we're going to move it through the space collision free. If we pick it this way, we are also going to move it through the space collision free. Each path that ActiNav self-determines to take is unique. It's different. Every time it's different, and it is based on the way that that part is particularly picked. In this case, it's a relatively, spherish part, right? It's a capsule. But if you're picking camshafts that are this long, it really makes a difference how you move through the space. It's really important to have a model of that part that's picked to make sure that as it goes through the space, the part never collides with anything in the environment. The last thing that we need to do is to set up the CAD matching parameters. And ActiNav makes this super simple. There's basically two parameters that you need to adjust. And you can see those here. We support two types of matching algorithms, and there's a couple of parameters for each. The first kind is volumetric matching. That's really suitable for 3D parts. That's what we're going to use here today on this conduit demo part. And you see two values. One is a minimum confidence threshold, and the other one is a quality versus speed slider. Quality versus speed slider is very easy to explain because it's simply The raw point cloud from this very high resolution 3D scanner from Photoneo is capturing 3.2 million point clouds. So it's a very dense point cloud. If you're scanning a big drive shaft, for example, or a large, cast part, then you probably don't need all 3.2 million points to do matching on that part. If you're scanning a very small electronic part, you very well may want to use all 3.2 million points. So quality versus speed is just basically a filter for how much subsampling that you do. And the minimum confidence threshold is simply, imagine that there are 100 points on top of whatever you can see. Whatever the part you can see, there's 100 points. So you have a CAD model that has where all 100 of those points should be, and then you have a 3D scan of the part from the 3D scanner. How many of those points need to match the CAD model, the ideal, until you say, yep, I have successfully matched that part? So that's matching. The other matching algorithm type is 3D edge detection. And that's really suitable for brackets and sheet metal parts and bent metal parts, formed metal parts. In that case, instead of looking at 100 points over the surface, over the whole surface of the part, particularly for flat parts, there's just going to be large swaths of flat. So we actually look for the change in normals. In other words, identifying the edges, identifying the bends, the folds, and that we actually use that method for matching. So ActiNav is like a platform. You'll see that it'll support a variety of different technologies over time as we go here. Okay, but let's focus on what we have today, which is these two sensors, medium and large, and these two matching algorithms. They cover a ton of different applications. So the last thing, so that's part. So I can tell you we've held multiple training classes, and with a physical setup, so robot mounted, end effector sensor, to program these 6 setup steps for first time users is about 2 hours. For once you get a little experience, it's more like 30 minutes. So it's very quick to add new parts, very quick to modify the environment, to import new end effectors, types, et cetera, et cetera. The ActiNav piece of the program has 4 major sections. There's the pick and place rules. So that's where you say, you teach ActiNav, we're going to do this together, how you want to pick the part and where you want to place the part. The next section is a home position. So that's just a starting point. That's not in the home position, but it's just a starting point out of the field of view of the scanner. And then you have the 6 steps for picking, which is home to pre-pick, pick, post-pick, pre-place, place, post-place, and back to home. And so for each one of those 6 steps, you can set variables, you can do logic statements, you can do basically anything you can do in UR, you can do at each of these points. You can check if you have a part, you can check grip, you can set a counter, you can check your average cycle time, you can do all sorts of things. And then the final node here is a conditionals section. So basically, if you want to do bin refill, for example, or you want to trigger operator intervention, or the system is running slow and you want to trigger a light or something like that. There's a whole folder that you can insert for conditionals. Okay, so ActiNav does any combination of pick and place rules. So you can have one pick rule to multiple places. You can have multiple pick rules to one place. You can have multiple pick rules to multiple place rules. And those are for different workflows. I can just mention a few of them now. What we're going to do today is the simplest workflow, which is one pick rule and one place rule. What you see running behind me from before is 3 pick rules to 1 place rule. Some of those workflows that these, one to many, many to one, many to many combinations enable is we seamlessly integrate with external 2D inspection cameras. So often you might want to pick a part You might want to hold that in front of a third-party 2D inspection camera, a Cognex, a Keyence, a SICK, or whatever, Datalogic, Microscan. You want to hold it in front of that. The camera is going to run its own independently programmed inspection program. You want to check a part, check for a ring, a seal, whatever, a defect. And then it's going to send an I/O signal into the ActiNav program. So you would check the I/O signal, either the part's good or the part's bad. If the part's good, it'll go to place location 1 in the machine. If the inspection is bad, it'll place it into a reject bin or into a fail location. So that's one example of one pick rule to multiple place rules. Multi-pick rules to multi-place rules, we do a form of palletizing. So if you pick up parts and you want to place them into 4 slots, for example, for trunnions or other machining applications, we support that. And then you may do, most common is multiple pick rules to a single place rule, because you often need to pick the part in 3 or 4 different ways to get good bin picking, but bin yield, bin pick percentage. But then for placement, you might actually need to just place it one way. You know, it only goes in the final machine one way. And so that's where you would have multiple pick rules to a single place. So that's just a few examples there. So let's do this. Let's suppress all of our pick and place rules. Okay, and we'll train a new pick rule and a new place rule. So we're going to do this together here. So here we're going to train the new pick rule. So again, it's all very hands-on, teach by demonstration style of programming. So when I hit this teach button here, you'll see that it gives me some on-screen instructions. 1, attach part to the tool where you want to pick it. Move the arm with the gripped part underneath the 3D scanner, and then hit scan. So let's go ahead and do that. So we'll put this here, and we're going to pick this part here in the middle of the clear side. So I'm going to turn on the vacuum. I'm going to physically attach it where I want to pick it, and then we'll hit scan. And you'll see that it's now remembering the way that we have picked that part. And that's it. That is a pick rule training. Okay, let's do place rule training. So again, there's a teach button. We'll hit teach. Gives us the same initial steps. So we'll go ahead and hit scan. Okay, now it asks us to place the part how you want to place it. So in this case, we'll place it in my hand. Let's say here. So it's going to place this part in this orientation in space here each time with this place rule. So we'll hit accept that. And then we want to know, how do we want to approach this pick location? So in our case, we want to start here, go straight down, and come up. It's a very simple place, but you could have more complex places where you come in from the side, rotate it, and then come up, for example. In this case, we'll just go straight up in the air. So we'll call that pre-place, and post-place, we'll just go straight up again, just 2 inches, and we'll hit done. So the only thing left is to associate the pick rule with the place rule. Is it 1 to many, many to 1, 1 to 1? So we're going to go 1 to 1, and now we can run the program. The only caveat is there's parts that are laying in all sorts of orientations, but we've only trained just the one. Oops. I forgot to turn the section off. I should have that at the beginning of my program, see? There we go. Okay. So I'm just going to make sure that there's at least a few parts facing up for that one side. Now we can, of course, train the other sides as well, but let's go ahead and play our program. And we're only going to pick parts in the middle on that clear side. We're going to allow the end effector to pick 360 degrees at that point. And then we're going to place it here in my hand in the part relative orientation. What I mean by part relative orientation is that we've defined it to place in my hand so that the flat is on this side and the center is facing forward here. So you'll see each time it places, the robot joint configurations are all unique. Every time the path and the robot joint configurations are unique, it's figuring out whatever joint configurations are needed so that at the end of the day, the part is like this. It's in this location. And we call that feature part relative placement. In other words, we haven't trained robot poses. We haven't trained a specific robot pose to place into. What we've trained is we want the part to be here. We want the part to be in this orientation. And then the robot figures out, ActiNav figures out how to make that happen. And that's how it works. I'll make this the last one here. Okay, and then so that's our demo. That's how the system works. That's how you do the pick training and the place training. You really show it. I want to pick it this way. I want to pick it here, and I want the part to be here in space, in the environment, in the world. In this case, it was in my hand. In the other case, it was in the fixture. If there's a regrip fixture, that would be the same.
Hello, everyone. My name is Brent Lindell, Area Sales Manager for OnRobot. Thank you for taking the time to join me here today. Special thanks to my partner, BEHCO, for the invitation, and thank you to Automation Alley for putting on this event. I'd like to spend the next 10 to 15 minutes talking to you about OnRobot, who we are, what we do, and the title of my presentation is End-of-Arm Tooling and Accessories for All Collaborative and Light Industrial Applications. So let's get started. Our motto at OnRobot is One System, Zero Complexity. I have a live camera feed set up here in the lab with a UR5. I'll talk to you about that one system, zero complexity, and how that works. Before we do that, let's talk about our vision at OnRobot, building a one-stop shop for collaborative and light-duty industrial robot applications. Our goal is to have the most extensive range of products that cover all robots, all applications, all accessories, encompassing all industries. OnRobot really does allow you to build that highly versatile robot solution. To talk a little bit about the company, we are a global company based in Denmark, just down the road from the guys at Universal Robots. I am here today in our Dallas, Texas office, our headquarters for the US. We've got roughly 200 employees across the globe. 30 to 40% of those employees make up our R&D team. So we are constantly launching new products every quarter, and really excited to see what 2021 will bring. The right robot accessories revolutionize automation. When I think about cobots and their position today, flexible, easy to deploy, increased production, lower automation costs, all of these things are certainly buzzwords when we talk about cobots or collaborative robots. For me today, I'd like to focus on the flexibility and the ease of use or ease of deployment. You'll see in my live presentation how simple it is to switch tools for applications. And then no doubt Universal Robots makes it extremely simple to program these robots. As we look at our product portfolio on paper here, you can see we have absolutely the largest amount of accessories, tools, grippers for the collaborative robots. On the right, you'll see an image of the UR Teach Pendant. This is our UR cap, giving you access to all of our tools right there on the UR Teach Pendant, making it as simple as possible to use the OnRobot products with the UR easy to use programming language, right? So save time, grow your business with fast, unified programming and simple deployment. OnRobot offers more than a dozen unique tools to meet your application needs. So from here, I'd like to switch over to the live presentation. You'll see here I've got a UR5 set up in my lab. Here on the flange of the UR5 is our quick changer, and I think this is really what makes OnRobot unique. So let's start there. This is kind of where it all starts with the quick changer. I hold in my hand here a single quick changer, so this bolts right to the flange of the robot like you see here for using a single tool on the robot. We also offer a dual configuration, so side 1, side 2. Multiple tools on the end of the robot can really increase that robot productivity, right? We can have 2 of the same tools or maybe even 2 unique tools to solve a unique application. And then the third option is our force torque sensor. So we have a quick changer with an optical force torque sensor. So to give that tool a sense of touch and feel, right? So if we go back over here to our UR5 with our single quick changer, you can also see I have our OnRobot eyes. We offer a 2.5D vision solution. Here on the outside, I have our newest product, which is our external light source for the camera. But really simple to set up, easy to use, a very powerful tool to give that robot vision with the OnRobot eyes. We can mount it here like you see on the robot, or we can mount it externally, maybe overhead a conveyor or a machine. But what I'd like to show you here is if we start looking at our tools, all of our tools have this built-in tool side quick changer. So we have the quick changer robot side that mounts to the robot flange. All of our tools have this built-in tool changer, so we simply connect the tool. It clicks into place. We now have power and data transferring from the tool to the robot controller. I simply push the button and the tool comes right off, right? So as we look at our 2-finger grippers, we'll start with the 2-finger and 3-finger grippers. A couple of variations for different payloads here in the RG series. Flexible in that we can adjust the mount. Flexible in that we can customize fingertips, whether we 3D print or machine those fingertips. We also have a 2-finger in a parallel style here. This is our 2FG7. Extremely fast. We're talking now close to pneumatic speeds, IP67. So as soon as I connect that tool, you can see that I'm functioning right there from the UR pendant. I'll remove our 2-finger gripper here, show you the 3-finger, the 3FG15, made for cylindrical parts. We can close on the OD, we can open on the ID. As soon as I connect my tool here to the quick changer, I now have full control of that tool, right? So one system, 0 complexity. One thing to keep in mind with our 2-finger and 3-finger grippers, as these are fully electric, smart grippers, so they're not just on, off, open, closed. We can tell our gripper to go to a certain width at the fingertips, to close at a certain force, or to move at a certain speed. So a lot of feedback, a lot of control on the gripper. So not just one gripper for one application. We now have one gripper for many applications, different shapes of sizes, parts. So really flexible there, right? I'm going to move these here. Let's talk a little bit about our vacuum grippers. We make those in a couple of variations. Vacuum grippers with fingertips that are movable, so you can create your own format there to meet your product needs. All of our vacuum grippers have multiple zones that you can control, and just standard G1-8 cups. So if you have a specific cup for the application, you can certainly use that. We have the VGC10, a smaller compact gripper to reach into smaller, tighter spaces. This also has multiple zones. So I'll show you as I connect this to my quick changer and actuate the gripper. You notice that I don't have any air lines, air compressors, no need for air compressors with any of our vacuum grippers. We generate the vacuum right on the tool with an electric pump. So no need to mess with air compressors and leaks and maintenance on that. You just simply connect the tool and it's ready to go. We have palletizing grippers. So now the VGP20 capable of up to 10 kilogram payload for palletizing, depalletizing. Multiple zones, no need for an air compressor, right? I'll show you the last little bit of our gripper tools. We have the soft gripper, IP67 FDA approved, a few variations in the skirt here for the gripper, unique for applications, food and beverage, textiles, and it's fully electric, no need for compressed air either. The magnetic gripper, MG10, fully adjustable magnetic force. I don't need a separate power supply. It's the same connectivity. Imagine a destacking application. We come in at a low force to pick the top sheet. Once we have the top sheet, engage the force and move the target, right? So fully adjustable up to 10 kilograms. And then our BEHCO gripper, fully mechanical, no electricity or air required. This is excellent for those applications where we need to make sure we're not leaving any marks on the surface. We make this in a few variations of sizes and payload capability. That's our BEHCO technology. The last few things I'll show you then are process tools. We do have an electronic sander and an electronic screwdriver. Our sander is from 1,000 to 10,000 RPM, fully electric, no compressed air needed. I typically see it with this force torque sensor so that we can apply a known force to the surface with our sanding, or we also provide a polishing pad. So fully electric, we are able to adjust the RPM right there on the UR teach pendant. And again, don't need to mess with the compressed air. The electronic screwdriver, up to 5 Newton meters of force, nice smooth round edges for the collaborative environment. When we pick the screw with our magnetic bit, the screw retracts inside of the housing, right? So that's just a brief look at our tools. Just wanted to kind of give you an idea of the plug and produce functionality with our one system, zero complexity. Now, what I would like to do now is I'll bring up our website just to show you a few areas on the website here that I think are important to you. Here we have products, applications. You can dig specifically into the applications, case studies, over a dozen case studies here just to show you how companies are utilizing our tool to increase productivity. Really nice video library here as well. So I encourage you to go to onrobot.com, learn more about our products. I thank you for your time today. I really appreciate it. I hope you have a good one and look forward to working with you here in the near future. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Hello, my name is Steve Curtis. I am the Regional Manager for SMAC, Moving Coil Actuators. We manufacture voice coil driven actuators and linear motors, very small and compact in size. And these actuators can be used in a number of applications in the measurement arena, pick and place, small part assembly, small part testing, all sorts of different applications. We have a variety of actuators. We have linear rod type units that are non-rotating rod type. We have linear with rotary rod type units, so you have Z theta motion for like pick and place applications or screw driving or thread inspection or capping. We also have XY stages that can be used for bore measurement or precise positioning of small parts and such. We also have grippers, 2 independently controllable fingers that can be coordinated or independently controlled to pick and place or handle small parts, fragile parts, that kind of thing, and also provide measurement at the same time. For today, we'll be focusing in the next video on the MLA series and MSA series. The MLA series is our motorized version. The MSA series is our spring-loaded version. For our motorized versions, as I mentioned previously, all of them can be programmed in all axes for programmable position, force, velocity, soft land, and feedback of position, force, velocity. This position control and velocity control can be altered on the fly. as well as the soft land and force control. And the feedback is down in the micron to submicron level. SMAC has a wide variety of encoders. We manufacture our own encoders, both linear and rotary, and we sell those as well. We'll do custom ones as well. But with the encoder resolutions on the linear axes, such as the MLA series, we'll offer that with a 5 micron or a 1 micron or a half micron or 0.1 micron. Even in some cases, we can offer it with a 50 nanometer resolution. This is a direct drive system. There's no rotary to linear motion going on here. It's a voice coil driven technology, so therefore it's a controlled current and voltage applied to the coil, which is mounted on a linear guide rail, so it's very well guided, and it's a low friction guide rail, and with that we can control the amount of force we're applying to the object. We can come out there, rapid advance to save cycle time, soft land, make contact initially with a very, very light force, down in the grams of force, and then apply a force. So say you had a part with coolant or a film of oil or something of that sort on it. We can come in and gently land on that part without causing any damage to that part, leaving any witness marks and so forth, and then apply a given force to push through that film and grab the position for a measurement. And that can all happen very quickly on the fly, not even noticeable to the naked eye if it's set up properly. And so therefore, with the capabilities we have there, as far superior to LVDT, traditional LVDTs, where they're using pneumatics or something else to bring it into place and just pushing against the spring or pneumatically driving it. We don't have that variability in air pressure, temperature, that kind of thing. All we have is the linear guide bearing internally, so it gives us well-guided support, as well as an extended nose bushing on the front that gives it extra support to the shaft as well, so therefore it can handle far more side loading than traditional LVDTs. So in the next video there will be a technical segment on that, and from there you can learn more about the gauging software that goes along with it and the ease of setup with that. We also offer this as a spring-loaded version, which is our MSA series. Our spring-loaded version is a little different scenario. It's just, as it says, spring-loaded, spring extending with a light spring in it. But again, using that linear guide rail internally, so it's well guided, well supported, along with the extended nose bushing for extra side load support, and very cost effective, starting out at $450 for a 1 micron resolution 10 millimeter stroke in quantity 1 type volumes. So, and it could be handled in multiple different ways coming out of that unit. It could go encoder signals back for watching counts back to a high-speed counter card. We have OEMs that do that. Or you could go to a control module and convert that to Ethernet IP, let's say, or RS-232 or EtherCAT. Number of different ways of doing that, or analog output. So with that, I will wrap this video up, and proceeding will be on the MLA series, a technical note on that. Thank you for your time. In this video, we are going to be demonstrating the MLA8 series actuator with our gauging control center software. In this setup, we're using a 10 millimeter stroke actuator. We've selected an 1 micron resolution encoder for the actuator. The actuator itself has a linear guide rail built right into it, well guided, an extended nose bushing on the front. It also comes with an IP65 rating. So let's start with the software. I've opened it up. It's automatically connected to the probe. We see the green status here, green light. We'll go to configure here, enter in our password. Currently we're on the operator interface, so it's just password protected to get into the settings and tuning tabs. Okay, remember the password. There we go. Now, as you can see on the right here, we have our setup tab. We also have a tuning tab. In the setup tab, we'll select our actuator, our type of measurement, whether we want it to be in millimeters or microns or inches. And we can set the datum. We can measure here from the software or via discrete input to the controller externally. And then a position close to part, that's so we can set up a position to do a rapid traverse close to the surface prior to taking the measurement. And it saves on cycle time and throughput. We can use this and optimize it. We've got places where we're doing part measurement at 80 to 100 parts per minute with these actuators, down in the micron level. In some cases, sub-micron level, we're able to measure as well. So, and then set the limits here as well. And then over here in the tuning tab, we have the PIDs. Those are just default. We can leave those alone. There's no real need to change those. Teach results, we'll go through a teach function and it'll display those results here. It's more just for data for later use if we was trying to figure out, troubleshoot anything. And then over here, the speed, the sensitivity, the soft landing force, the soft land speed, push force after we soft land, dwell time, and then the datum if we want to do an offset to the datum surface. So we'll go back to the setup screen here. We'll get started. We'll select the actuator, measurement type, static. In the future, we'll have that set up for dynamic as well, so we can measure a profile of a surface. Measure the type of measurement in millimeters. We'll do that today. And with that completed, we can save the program into the controller. As you can see, it's loading in to the controller in the native language, which we don't have to mess with, because the GUI's handling all that. And it's running through a homing routine. It's gone ahead and homed. I'll clear the screen. Now we'll go ahead and set the datum. So we're setting the datum out here and doing a teach function. And we've learned some information that's going over the tuning tab there. And then it's ready to go. So we'll clear the screen again. We can put some information in here. We know roughly how far we want to go rapid traverse. I'm going to say 5 millimeters for that. Limits, I'm going to use a 1 millimeter gauge block, so I'll use a 1 point, just for a limit. Today I'll put 1.1 millimeters in there. For the low limit, I'll put 950, 0.950. And that's adjusted our limits over here on the left. Tuning tab, we can leave that alone for now. We can go back and adjust that later after we get going if we want to optimize things. So we can save the program into the controller. And simply with filling in this data on the first screen, you can get started doing your first measurements pretty soon, here, pretty quickly. All right, so it's gone ahead and homed itself. We'll clear the screen. We got our linear home message back. And now we'll take and measure with it. So I'll just go to the datum surface first. So we have our 0 there like we expected, and we're outside our limits, so of course we failed. Let's measure again so you can see repeatability there. It's going to be spot on within a couple encoder counts, in this case 1 micron encoder. So all right, now the gauge block is in place. We'll measure on that, and there we have it. 1 millimeter gauge block. We're measuring at 1.002. We might have something on the gauge block or laying there on the tip or something, but for the 2 microns there. But again, within that plus or minus 2 encoder counts is traditionally what we rate these for. There you can see the repeatability of it. And it's filling in our graph here. I can also choose to go over here and I want to select some points to look at. I can zoom into those and look at those in further detail. As you can see there, it zoomed into it. There are also other options here with the graph. You can go ahead and export the data as a CSV file or as an image. You can do different things here in this option selection here. Tuning tab, like I say, you can adjust the speeds and just when you do make changes over here, you have to save the program to the controller so the controller knows those changes were made. It stores them to non-volatile memory as well. The GUI is not necessary for running the operation. You can use this for setup and then disconnect the GUI and strictly run off the I/O on the controller as well. So now we'll measure. And we're measuring the gauge block and we're getting our repeatability there. And I'll just go back to the datum surface just for something different. And there we go. So there's just an overview, quick overview on the SMAC Gauging Control Center.
Hello and welcome to today's presentation on solving difficult automation tasks with easy-to-use software. My name is Sven Dittus. I'm an advanced robotics expert at Artiminds Robotics, and today I'm going to show you how you can utilize our software to ease up the process of creating your robotic programs. Usually, from the idea to the actual running process within your cell or on your robot, there are a few steps you have to take, and we provide two software solutions that support our customers along this journey. So initially, when you have an idea, something that you want to automate, you have to do a programming. This involves in the first step a simple robot configuration, which can be done with our software called Robot Programming Suite, RPS. Within the software, it's very easy to just select the hardware you want to use, and it's also very easy to create your robotic program. We supply a lot of different templates and function blocks that solve common tasks that you can do on a robot. And you can just use a drag and drop system and put them into a ordered program that can be executed on the robot. And this process is not only easy to use, but it's also very fast. So if you want to automate sophisticated tasks, like including force sensor, force adaptive control, or search algorithms, that can be done within the RPS very easily. Usually the next step is the simulation. In simulation, you want to check the reachability of the points your robot program uses, and you can also do collision checks, so you can ensure that your hardware is not colliding with your cell. The third step is the commissioning, which involves the integration of your hardware, vision systems, force torque sensors, and grippers, and we're going to see all that in the live demonstration later on. But you can also integrate your PLC or other I/O interfaces that you're using, and what's then very important or very outstanding to the Artiminds RPS is that the generated code runs independently on your robotic controller, which means you don't need any additional hardware and you can just execute it like any other program you programmed yourself by hand. Usually when you get the program running, all of us know then you maybe want to change the program later on a little. Maybe you want to change the pickup position of some parts, or you want to tweak some speeds here, or you want to do something there. And that part, or the maintenance part, can be done within the RPS also very fast. You can reteach simple points, you can adjust forces that you want to apply on something. And you can do all of that like on the real robot, or you can also do it within the RPS. Once you get your program running and everything works correctly, in the last step, we supply our other software solution, which is called Learning and Analytics for Robots, or LAR. And it can be used for recording of movements, forces, camera results, and error codes. And it's also a process-oriented monitoring task, which can be utilized to do analysis or compute your KPIs on the fly. And this data later on can be used for optimization of teach points, for shorter cycle times, and even for more robust processes. So with our two software solutions, you have the entire process from the idea to running program or process on your robot that's not only fast, but also robust and efficient. On this slide, you can see a few customers of ours that rely on us. And I just want to show you that slide to see that we do have smaller companies, large companies. We have companies from different areas that produce different products, and all of that background helps us to also support our customers in an initial step when they are not sure if some task can be automated or not. And this background also utilizes or can be utilized to speed up the actual development process. So we also give services to our customers if they need consulting in any sort of way, or we support them along the way when they're creating their robotic program. But like I said in the beginning, the main part of today's presentation is supposed to be demonstration. My colleague Andreas Hermann prepared a short demonstration today, which involves a robot, a force torque sensor, a vision system, and a gripper. And he's going to show you how you can easily use our software, the RPS, to create your robotic program. And so now I'm going to hand over to my colleague Andreas Hermann. And later on, we'll find some time for question and answers if there's anything you're especially interested in, or if you have concrete questions about a certain topic. So have fun at the demonstration, and we'll see each other later on.
Welcome everyone. This session is about to position this little gear here on top of the motor shaft, like that, with the robot. And we're using a two-dimensional camera that is mounted on top of the workspace here of the robot. And we're also using the force torque sensor of the robot to first use the camera to grasp the object at different positions here in the workspace. And secondly, to use the force torque sensor to react for deviations if the motor isn't positioned perfectly at the same position. So we're using the force torque sensor to really use the touch sensitivity of the robot, position the gear on the shaft. All right, let's go. First of all, we're defining a home position for the robot. So we're looking for a position of the robot that is not interfering with the camera and that has a lot of free space and clearances around the robot. So let's move the robot somewhere a little bit to the left, like that. And let's use this as a home position. So I'm starting to program in the RPS. First of all, let's define the home position. Or first of all, let's go online and establish a connection to the robot controller. So I'm just clicking the online-offline button here. Now I'm connected to the actual robot. And the RPS allows me to program my workflow with an offline robot and also with an online robot, and to switch seamlessly between online and offline programming by just a touch of this button. So now I'm in online mode. I'm clicking on this home position button here, and I'm starting the wizard. And by clicking on use demonstration, I'm querying the data from the robot, from the controller, and memorizing it in my project here. So data is transferred and the home position is set. So let's see how it looks. Shows the 3D. So this is the home position of the robot as it is in the real world. So first of all, I'm triggering the camera to detect this gear here. We've already set up the camera to search for a circle here. So I can just simply use a detector template in the RPS, which is called Move Linear Detection. So the templates with the green V here are the templates that are using a camera. Also, the video shows me that the robot is using the camera to then drive to the detected pose. So I'm just dragging that into my workspace here. And now I'm parameterizing this template. So for that, I'm starting the wizard, which queries all the interesting information, or all the relevant information. So I've configured my camera to use detector number 3 for this job. So I'm just telling it here to use detector number 3. Let's see if this is working. Camera is triggered, yes, and we get a position of the object. We're using that. So as we do not want to drive in a relative manner, I'm zeroing this all out here. Also, as we have a rotational invariant part, I can zero out all the other dimensions here. So we're just using the X and Y position of the camera. Then I can add a safety region here. So whenever the camera detects something outside this region, the robot will not react to it. So let's say we have a 20 by 20 centimeter field of interest. And of course, now I have to tell the robot where it has to drive to if it detects an object here. So I'm teaching a position above the detected gear. For that, I'm activating the force torque control of the robot. And I'm just guiding it to the position where I would like to have it. it says here. Let's drive a little bit above the gear. Just like that. It looks good. So now I'm teaching this position again. Clicking on use demonstration, and now I'm finished with this template. All right, let's see how it looks in simulation. So I'm just clicking the blue simulation button, and I see that the robot is driving from the home position directly to the detected pose of the camera. Now we can go on to the next template, which is the grasp template. So for that we have a grasp relative template. So relative to the position that was given by the camera, we now drive a little bit downwards and grasp the object. So again, I'm starting the wizard here. We have to teach in the approach position, which is actually the current position. Now we teach the actual grasping point. So again, I'm driving a little bit downwards here. Grasp it firmly, and teach it. Now we demonstrate how much we want to open the gripper before grasping. So I'm opening the gripper a little bit, like that. And now I can specify the deapproach motion, so how much do we want to lift the object that we grasp. Let's say we want to drive upwards by 90 millimeters. And I'm done. Again, let's have a look at simulation. Looks good in simulation. Send it to the robot. For that, I just hit the red play button, which compiles your script code and then sends the script code to the robot by network interface. So it's really easy. Just by the push of one button, we are driving to the home position and we start the execution of the program. The camera is triggered and the robot drives to the position and grasps the object. That looks good. So now we can move on and position the gear above the motor. For that, I'm using a linear motion. Let's position the robot somewhere above the shaft. And it's not important to hit the center of the motor exactly, because we're using the force torque sensor to actually detect the perfect position. It looks good. So let's teach that one. Before we start the search, we are driving downwards until we hit the motor. So we're using a move linear detection or move linear relative contact template here, which drives downwards until it detects a force. So I'm not teaching this template, but I'm just parameterizing it. So I'm telling the robot to drive downwards like 1 or 2 centimeters until it hits a force of, or detects a force of 6 newtons. After that, we start with a spiral search. Spiral search relative. It is important at this position that we connect the bias inputs and outputs of these force templates, so that the robot knows that it doesn't have to zero out the forces that are acting. So I'm connecting the bias input to the bias output, and I'm starting to parameterize this template. So the video will guide me through the process. First of all, I have to define the search region here. For that, I have to teach in the top left point of my search region. let's say this is my top left point. And we have the top right point. Bottom right point. And bottom left point. Then we have to demonstrate the optimum, the center, where the search should start. Let's put that here. And last but not least, I have to tell the robot how far it should drop into the hole until it knows that it hit the right spot. So let's say it has to insert the gear for 3 millimeters. And then I'm done. So let's see how this looks on the robot. So we're driving above the motor, drive down until we hit the force limits. Then we start with the spiral surge, and then we're done. All right, now we only have to push it down until it hits the surface of the motor again. For that, we have a nice template which is called insert. So the insert template tries to minimize all the torques which are acting on the robot. So even if you have a little bit of an angle here at the motor shaft, the robot will try to regulate this and control so that it fits nicely. So for that we are using insert minimum depth contact template. Again, I'm connecting the bias output to the bias input, and I'm parameterizing this one. So we want to drive down at least 1 centimeter, and then we want to start looking again for the surface until we touch it. So in total we want to drive like 30 millimeter as a maximum, and we detect the surface if we exceed 6 newtons, let's say 7 newtons. So, and afterwards we can open up the gripper and retract the robot. So let's add an open gripper template, which is already parameterized to open the gripper to the maximum. And then we add a retract motion, which is a move linear relative template, which we teach to drive upwards in Z direction of the robot for 10 centimeters. That's it. Let's have a look at the simulation. So our robot is grasping, it's driving downwards. Here we see the red area, which is the spiral surge area. And we drive down until we hit the motor, and then we open the gripper and retract. Okay, let's try it on the robot. Hits the shaft, it starts to surge, it drops for 3 millimeters, then it starts to do the insert motion until it really hits the motor. And that's all. Pretty easy. Of course, we could add a lot more error handling. So what should be done if the part cannot be found? What should be done if the spiral surge does not hit something, or if we cannot detect any forces? So if the motor is missing completely or something, we could add a lot of more error handling here in the RPS, which we would do in an industrial setup. But for this little demonstration, it should be sufficient. Let's see if it also works if we position the part at a different position, not at the perfect starting position. So we see the robot grasped it at the perfect center. And if we have a deviation with the motor, we can use the force torque sensor to react on this deviation. And again, we have a nice insert motion. And it hit. Thanks for watching.
Well, there you go. Thank you very much to all the presenters. Fantastic content there. We're running tight to our window. I respect people's time, but we're going to get a couple of these questions that we had in the queue lined up, and we got permission from Automation Alley to run over a little bit. So let's just go ahead and start with Sven at Artiminds. That was really great to see. If a picture says 1,000 words, then a video demo like that is a complete book. What is the, one of the questions came through is given this programming suite, what is the time savings? How do you make a business case for that software?
Well, thank you, Mike. That is a good question, actually. As you saw in the demonstration, we do supply different templates for tasks, and you can just use our graphical interface to program your robot. And we knew that we would be faster than someone who's typing the code actually by hand, but we were still curious how fast we actually can get with our software. So what we've done is that we took several sophisticated robot programmers, and we've actually stopped the time how long it takes them to use our software to create such a program, and how long it would take them to type actually or program the robotic software themselves. And in our test, we figured out that with our software, you can be 100 times faster than actually typing it by hand. And so our software is great for people who already know how to program robots, because they can become very fast at sophisticated tasks. And it's also great for people who don't know how to program robots, because as you can see, you don't need to actually know a robotic programming language to get such a program like the one we've seen in the demonstration running.
That makes a lot of sense to me. That's probably one of the main reasons we got involved with your team so many years ago, was seeing how this enables not only the advanced, what I'll call power user, but as well as the new person that's been given the task of solving an automation programming challenge. Fantastic stuff, Sven. We appreciate your input here, and I thought again that the video really showed the power of the tool, using a vision input, using force inputs, parameter setting, really being able to take complex tasks and realize them in an easy format like that. So good stuff. We have another question here. I wanted to flip it over to Eric Anderson, if you're able to queue up. Eric, the question that came in regarding ActiNav, and again, I thought that went really well. So I don't know if you're in the background, Eric. I think Sven, there you go. So the question that came through was around the part size and workspace. Can you help us understand what is the smallest to largest part sizes, and then again, in terms of practicality and production, tote sizes as well, ranging from, we'll call, small parts to large part totes. How do you handle that?
Sure. About the smallest parts that we've done are about a 1/2 inch in size.
That's not really a limitation on the vision sensor. The vision sensor that we've used has 3.2 million points, so it can see much smaller parts even than that. But typically small parts, smaller parts than that, maybe a bowl feeder or something that's faster is going to be a better technology. So practically speaking, about 1/2 inch at the small size, and then up to somewhere around 12 to 15 inches. As the parts start to get larger than that, fewer and fewer of them fit inside of a bin. And so sometimes using a tray, maybe with a cobot, instead of picking out of the bin starts to make sense. So somewhere's in, the 1/2 inch to 10 to 15 inch range, that's a good benchmark for part size. We have done larger, we have done smaller, but that's a good benchmark. And then on the bin size, your medium scanner is going to do about a 1/2 meter cubed bin, or somewhere around 20 inches cubed. And then your large scanner is going to do about 1 meter cubed. So that's going to approximately relate with about 40 inches cubed, say. It's not quite cubish, but it's in a close approximation. And that's going to match kind of what the reach of the UR5 is and what the reach of the UR10 is. So if you're talking about a large bin with the UR10, we have some nuts and some fittings where more than 4,000 parts are in the bin, and that can run for 24 to 36 hours. If you're talking larger parts, depends on the machining cycle time, but then in that case, we can run out of parts in sort of 4 to 6 hours.
That makes sense to me. Another question that was important to ask is where do you see this solution fitting? What are the machines that you're targeting?
Yeah, great question. I mean, so we're really focused on feeding machines, and particularly these work in process parts. So obviously CNC machines is the thing that everybody thinks of first, but a lot of what machines our customers refer to as stations. And a lot of those are just made at home, little homegrown drilling stations or tapping stations, trimming stations, nut welding stations, dropping onto brackets, polishing robots, sonic welding machines. So any kind of a station where there's, kind of that size part, there's an operator there today, slowly feeding that machine, from a bin of parts and into a machine. That's really the sweet spot. And it's just eliminating that sort of dull task, which has a lot of labor cost per part in that. And those people can be used in faster stations or more flexible stations, for example, where they can really be, utilized efficiently and increase their skills.
Excellent. Yeah, that's a great insight. Of course, my mind takes me to the CNC space, but to your point, there's a lot of value add, customized workstations where this fits perfectly. So good stuff. Thank you very much, Eric, again for the content, and job well done. I want to jump over to Steve Curtis. I see Steve's about ready to rock here. We have a simple but important question, Steve. How difficult is it to recalibrate your system versus an LVDT?
Okay, so there's with the software, there's a set datum, and you can use that and then use a gauge block to verify it, that kind of thing. There's also hardwired I/O on that controller that's set up for that purpose as well. So you can use that. That's a linear glass scale encoder in those direct drive systems. So it's straightforward in the makeup of the encoder side of it.
So it's essentially part of the system itself.
Part of it, correct.
Got it. And when you look at, again, comparing to LVDTs, what's the resolution that SMAC's able to go to in that regard?
Yeah, so standard stuff for this MLA, MSA series is a 1 micron resolution, but we also will offer it with a 1/2 micron resolution. And we have units that we can offer with 0.1 micron resolution and even 50 nanometers in some cases. We get into the 50 nanometer, you're looking at everything and anything going on out there. So it ain't for every application, of course, but as long as the customer's mindful of that, because you have thermals and stuff that affect everybody and anything that you put into those kind of applications. It's
Yeah, that's down there in the small range for sure.
Yeah.
Good deal.
Yeah.
Well, my takeaway again is that this is just a much better mousetrap. I've worked in the LVDT space in the past, and they do a great job for the data you need, but their maintenance demands are real. And now with an affordable and easy to set up system that's robust and gives you great measurements with no more headaches. We would encourage everybody to give this a lot of thought when they're looking at upgrading their next system or engineering the future one for their business. Appreciate that, Steve. I'm going to jump over to Brent Lindell with OnRobot. Thanks for your patience, Brent. Great presentation again. Really appreciated the ease of use and flexibility that your system highlights there. When we look at OnRobot and their electric grippers, help me again. What are the real advantages that you have versus the more we'll call simple on-off or open-close grippers? Where do you see that really making a business case for customers?
Yeah, thanks, Mike. I think kind of the biggest difference I talked about in my presentation that, with our grippers, we can close to a specific force, set the fingertips to a specific width. But one thing I kind of failed to mention is all the feedback that we get with the gripper. So we have a lot of variables. So within the UR programming, you can monitor these variables if the gripper is busy, the width of the fingertips, the amount of force. Some of the grippers have part detection. So a lot of these things you can then write into your logic and give you even more of a robust program, robust application. So instead of just that on-off, you can monitor that data and really put together a nice robot program that gives you a lot of feedback. And so I think that's the big advantage, is just the smarts built into the gripper that rolls right into the ease of use of the UR product.
I don't know anybody that has to work so hard as you at keeping up at product launches, because OnRobot is coming up with some great stuff. And we just, for anybody listening, if there's a work piece challenge, having Brent and his team take a look at it and come up with some ways to handle it is really helpful for us. This is how we work with our vendor partners. And thanks again, Brent, for your contribution. It went real well.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you. From my side, I think I just want to say thanks again to Automation Alley for hosting this tech takeover from our vendor partners and the effort you put into your demos and your content. Well appreciated. And I think for all of us, we just can't wait to the next live event where we can get out of our labs and into the trade show environment, so we can get face to face and help you with your problems. Until then, thanks again for your interest, and thank you again for Rebecca and the team for managing this event online.
Yeah, and I'll just jump in there. Sorry, Cynthia, I had something come up, but my name's Allison with Automation Alley. I'm one of our relationship managers, and thank you so much, Mike. We've done presentations like this before, and you always bring in such great partners and the hands-on demonstrations. I will say, when they do it in person here, it's wonderful, but it's nice to see you're able to do those virtually as well. So thank you guys so much. Thank you to everyone that was able to join today. Thank you, Mike, Eric, Steve, Sven, Brent, and Ernst. And thank you everyone who was able to watch. Remember, this is recorded, so it'll be on our website. Feel free to share it with customers, prospects, anybody you think would find this interesting. And if there are any questions, I know we went a little over time, but feel free to reach out to Automation Alley. We'll get your questions to Mike or the appropriate person. Again, thank you so much, and be sure to tune into our next Tech Takeover. It's going to be June 9th, and that's going to be on achieving the extraordinary by putting the worker at the center of the digital transformation, and that's going to be with a company called Andonics. So thank you for spending the morning with us, everybody, and I hope you have a great Wednesday. Thanks.